Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for being here with us today on the Talk Track, as usual. Another episode. We're at Plot 8B, Gabula Road, the Barrow House. Yeah. 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 To the Barrow House for giving us the space to do what we like to do. The Talk Track is an independent production of the Kara Junkies. It is sound mixed, produced, and edited by Maurice. We do not own any of the rights to the music that you're going to hear playing in the background. That also doesn't mean we are conductors of this music. But if you want to get skills in conducting, YouTube is your friend. Also, we do not dictate any of the ideas presented by any of the participants of the Talk Track. All this is open thought and open speaking. Yeah. Also, check out our social media channels. We're on YouTube. Talk Track UG on YouTube. So please don't forget to like, subscribe, comment. That feedback also helps us grow. So if I'm boring, put it under there. That guy in the pink sweater is boring. Change the host. I'll understand. I'll take it traditional, but I'll understand. Hey, I forgot to introduce myself. I'm your host for the day. My name is Roy, aka The Alchemist, aka Muzamiru, aka Muzafalu, aka Kamadowe Chigege, aka... Yeah. Ignorance is bliss, eh? That's what people say, right? Ignorance is bliss. What you don't know won't hurt you. All that stuff. And I think that the flip side to ignorance is bliss is knowledge is power, right? We're not going to really focus on the ignorance is bliss aspect because we're currently in a society or living in a time where inherently we actually have access to a lot of information, which makes us, by definition, slightly more knowledgeable than most average generations. At least in this time, you can say someone is knowledgeable about something, right? So we're going to talk about, today we're going to focus on the price of knowledge, because is it really important for you to have access to all the information that comes to you? Are you supposed to know about everything that passes passes your sight? Are you supposed to be up to date on geopolitics all the time? Do you have to know whether Manchester United is going to play Leicester or play Brighton? Jesus, any team that we play is scary. So in a time where a lot of what we do is governed by how much access to information and how much knowledge we have, today we're going to break down whether inherently that knowledge is important. So what is the price of us having all this information? So before I proceed, I just need one person to answer this question. And you guys, if you agree, you can just nod your head. If you don't, we can get back to it later. Do you think we as a generation in this time are suffering from an information overdrive or information overload? Yeah, we all agree to that, right? Yeah, Instagram is telling you something, Snapchat is telling you something, TikTok is telling you a lot, right? So it's information overdrive, right? So we all agree to that. Eh? Now, my first guiding question. We have access to all of this information, which inherently makes us slightly more knowledgeable, right? Is knowledge inherently valuable, or does the worth of that knowledge depend on how it is used?
I think so, actually, because, see, how you use the information is going to determine what that power is or what. You see, information, when they say is power, because it can make or destroy. So how you use it then attaches the value to it. I don't know, you guys, are you tapping our jazz? What? Are you following us like these TikToks? Because we were out there, you were not there. So that's why I'm saying you're behaving like these social media people. We talk about things in the morning, they send you a notification about the same freaking topic. Someone's listening to us. But anyway, we were having this conversation outside, no? We were saying that not everything that comes to you, well, I said not everything that someone comes to tell you is actually worth, or it has come in a good light. Sometimes that is why you see, personally as a journalist, I'm sorry, I'm not discrediting the profession, but come on, guys. I think at this point we are playing with the profession, yeah? We've reached a point where I don't watch news. I'm sorry, not because I don't want to know what's going on, okay? Even on social media, I'm going to choose what I want. Thank God they have options, no? Because we've reached a point where not every news that it's given has come with a purpose or intent, yeah, of what it is for. Sometimes, and guilty as journalists. Sometimes we're giving you the news we want you to get. We are like literally trying to frustrate the world or give certain information to create a certain pattern of behavior within the people, to create a certain demand for something, or even to create an agenda. That is why, yes, I am knowledgeable in politics, but I know it is hogwash. You know, it's a whole syndicate. Someone is playing, if they play the game well, okay? So at the end of the day, we end up now being the gatekeepers for ourselves. We have to be the gatekeepers for ourselves. I am going to sit and decide what am I going to watch today or listen to. And if it finds me, yes, sometimes because it's random, yeah? It will find me, but I will choose not to give it the attention. That is why you find that even in this day and age of information and media and things like that, everyone that is coming with a new idea. TikTok is doing probably a little bit better than the previous ones because why? TikTok knows that we're having now a consumer demand of this nature where I have to choose what I want to listen to because we are tired, we're exhausted. That's why I still treasure the times when you got the book that you wanted and read the book that you wanted. You get what I'm trying to say? Not every information being shoved down your throat because it is there.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So I think, but I would also say the age of information, well, it's been literally it's been the 21st century, you know.
Well, let's say since like the dawn of the internet, really. So late 20th and then into the 21st century.
I still believe maybe even earlier than that because people had a culture to read, a culture to write. So we communicated through like real thought, not out of excitement. If you picked a book, that book was written for quite some time, you know. Yeah. It came from a place. It came from instead of me now, you see, it's for me, I value it. It's still information. But what has happened is we've seen, and I think we've been lucky to see at least half of the information age. Okay. Yeah. To see it transition and grow. There are people, probably because I'm saying as early as the 18 or 1900s when books were the thing. Yeah. Or literature was the thing. Yeah. So we came in half of that era and still saw a lot within that half of an era. Yeah. In it becoming podcasts or I don't know, what are they called? The ones we listen to? Or we started with having the books on the phone to read,
like a reading the audiobooks.
Audiobooks.
Yeah.
So, and now it's the social media, no? Mm-hmm. We have what we call community journalism. If I go and find something there, I will not have the knowledge, or rather the skill to know that maybe I need to blur this picture.
All right. Yeah. So
or
before
maybe I need to adjust this.
Yeah. Before you go really far ahead, you've hinted on two things that I would like at least someone to give me a follow-up on. Number one, of course, with the information overload that we have, it is now, like you said, it's now up to us to choose which knowledge is worth pursuing, right? But you've also pointed out that for where we are at now, information is coming to us really fast and in really large amounts as opposed to back then where, you know, you're actually getting information that was sieved and well thought out and actually served a purpose, right? So my first question is going to follow that second aspect. How has that change impacted how we consume information currently? Because back then, like you said, someone would take time to write a book, so they're putting out, you know, well thought out material. But these days, anyone can put out material because they have an audience, right? How has that changed? And how has this information coming to us as fast as it does, how has that impacted how we consume information, how we consume knowledge as opposed to back in the day?
The past days, someone would get time, research about something, write about it, or produce it to the news. Nowadays, if I hear, which is not the case of now, I can hear something and then next thing you know, it's on TikTok. So the information might not be true. So my solution now is to first take it in, and then you see how you're going to react to it. that goes to also self-medicating. You're going to go, I have flan, then you go on Google and then you search for something. And then also you go on TikTok and you search for something. Remedies, skincare stuff. And then you start. Next thing you know, your hair is breaking off. So
So what you're saying inevitably is that now, with the way the information is coming at us now, we have become accustomed to being a little bit more skeptical to the information that we get, right?
Well, that's more of my reaction. You have to be more careful, do more research. Don't take things by
at
this
face
one.
value.
I say that, yeah. So you have to be more, because especially picking sides, politics, mania, it's a certain celeb you like or what. A narrative is going to come out. Like she said, news reporters can put out a certain narrative when they want you to take something, to see the face. For instance, let me say the big countries.
Let's go with Russia.
Russia. So like you can have, they're putting out a certain something for you guys. They want you to see what they want you to see. Yet there is actually a deeper story than that.
So doesn't that now mean that we as a generation are slowly becoming desensitized to acquiring new knowledge? Because if at every single point in time we have to think, we have to criticize, we have to break down which information we are getting because all this information is coming at us really fast, hasn't that made it slightly more difficult for us to consume new knowledge? Because I see a lot of people these days are more comfortable being set in their ways as opposed to changing based on the information and knowledge that they have. So because of this information overdrive, is it making it difficult for us to consume more knowledge?
I'm thinking, Roy, for some reason you've been tapping into our conversations, but you've been misusing leisure time somewhere there. You're watching soccer. But, we have been discussing about music and the time taken to produce the music we are listening to right now. I think, if not all of us, but I think most of us here can agree that music is either a source of knowledge, music is impactful, music has power. So, and for some reason we are taking in this information we listen to in those songs. So the time taken to produce this music will, one, affect the quality, and then it will affect its power, its impact towards the listeners. I don't know whether it makes sense, but the time these people are taking to produce what we are listening to, the news they are giving us, everything. If we listen to the journalists these days and the journalists back then, these journalists used to give stories time. They used to bake the information for the listeners and everything. And I feel like anyone that consumed that information back then had no reason to drop the information. So as opposed to right now, because anyone right now with a smartphone or with a camera can become a journalist. If they can shoot something and post it somewhere, they feel, I'm giving you people information. So which is, but again, what you asked, I think it gets back to how you perceive this information. A number of times you have seen people putting captions. Someone can be like, a cat that dreams of becoming a lion should start by losing appetite for rats. And then it's like, how you take that information is up to you. So it gets back to us as the people that are consuming the information. How do we want this information to affect us?
Okay.
I can read something. We can actually, me and Rowena can read the same thing, but we take different things. So it gets back to me. How do I want? Am I looking at the cat? Am I looking at the whole thing of the cat and the rat as animals, or am I thinking a lot about this? Mm-hmm. So I think it gets back to how we decide to to take this thing in.
All right.
Yep.
A lot of what we've covered so far, and a lot of your reactions have been somehow always come down to it's now up to us to decide which information is useful and how we ingest and utilize that information, right? Which is, I think, a good aspect. Which brings me to my next question: how do we determine what knowledge is worth pursuing, especially now in this day and age? How do we go about determining what knowledge is, one, relevant to us, two, useful to us, or just in general worth pursuing as opposed to what is not? Because again, things are coming at us so fast, right? I like to go back to the examples, especially when it comes to working out. Someone is going to give you information about calisthenics where you use your own body weight and do this, and someone is going to give you information about lifting heavy and doing few reps and few sets, and someone is going to give you information about working light, lift light weights for thousands and thousands of reps. Work out 6 times a week, work out 3 times a week. There should be rest in between there. So how do we determine, with everything that is coming at us, what knowledge is worth pursuing?
I loved it when you went to the exercise thing because it took me exactly where I am. Recently, I've been Googling YouTube. You're like, okay, I need to work out. Like, let's say I want to lose weight, so I need to work out. I need to climb mountains. I need to do these hard workouts. Then as you're doing these hard workouts, using YouTube, like you put on like your phone somewhere, you start working out. Now this is the ad that comes up. You're running on a treadmill. You're wasting time. You won't lose. Now imagine I am doing this. I'm forcing myself to go beyond my limits. But the same app that is giving me information on how to lose this weight, it's the same app that is telling me it doesn't work. You lift these things, you do this, you will not, nothing's going to work. Only 5 minutes a day is all you need. Lose sitting in your chairs. So it's really, this topic, it's really hard today to be like, what is right? And I would tell you up to now, I am wondering, which is easier? And then you're like, and then you see, oh, this worked for this one. Oh, this worked for this one. Okay, because everyone says this worked for me. It's like, okay, why is going to work for me? So it's really hard to determine what is right. But recently, I think one of the things personally that I'm using to determine which information, what should I take in, what should I just leave there? Because as of now, I've come to realize that people on social media or all these information platforms are using them to sell their businesses.
That is
true. That
is very true.
Someone's going to tell you, you don't need to work out and do this and this. That person is being paid to sell. Pharmaceutical companies are also wanting to make money. So if we're all smart about working out, eating healthy, and doing all of this, they are not going to benefit because we are going to stay healthy. But then also, someone's going to tell you can eat anything. They can't stop you from eating this and this. And then you do this. So it's a business. So how we can how I select information is I go out, I look at my source and who is giving me this information? What is their credibility? For those that do some studying online, they will tell you, you would find an article, you read it and submit data, and your instructor will be like, that is trash. So who is doing this? Who is giving me this information? How much time have they put into me receiving this information? I was reading a funny article that I was sharing with her, and it was this long, and it has it's a funny one that I can't share, but it shows this person has no motive of selling something to me.
Yeah.
They actually found out something and took their time to read. So, in conclusion, the information that we need is there. It depends on how quick are we in getting the result that we want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, speaking of that, you brought on the aspect of a lot of information coming at us this way because during this time, because the people giving us that information have ulterior motives. Someone is trying to promote a brand, someone is trying to sell a company, something like that. Which brings me to my next question, and this is very important. We all agree that these days, majority of the news that we get or the information that we get comes from thought leaders. It will come from celebrities. It will come from influencers. We are not in a day and age where our information is coming from sources that we would call credible, right? As long as someone has a platform and they can reach out to people, sometimes they are going to use that platform to give out information, right? Whether it's right or wrong. So my question in that regard is, what are the implications of relying on the influencers, on the thought leaders or celebrities for knowledge and guidance?
Unlike in other countries, here in Uganda, we have a lot of people who go to work at 7:30. By 10, they are done. Between 10 and midday, they're on TikTok. What are they looking for? You find someone with an office laptop, with headsets on. I mean, the laptop is facing the wall. And on TikTok, they're on X. What kind of information are they getting, and how does it help the people of Uganda? 2, a lot of people have nothing to do. Some would rather spend a day without eating but get money for data. So they have a lot of time to receive, I am sorry to say, garbage information and transfer it to some other friend. You find 5 people being confused by one person, a blogger. It goes back to the days our parents lived. It would be hard for you to find newspapers. Because by the time the newspapers were there, whatever was written in the newspapers was authentic, I should say, by then. An example is a red paper, a tabloid. Where is it now? Nowhere to be seen. Because it only had 2 things right on it, the date and the day. And for me, yeah, social media has come up. We're saying AI is okay. Look at the primary level examinations just done last year. Urban schools have failed. Because, our kids are being taught to write answers, not to reason answers. So all these celebrities, they walk their talk. I do not find any celebrity who says this song was bad. I saw Bebe Cool criticizing the owner of this song, China Wolf, that dancers actually dance it better than her. And she came to say, no, it's my song. But someone has given you an opinion. Who has been there, for ages. It's their opinion. But it doesn't matter. They're there to walk their what? People say Circumference is a bad song, but the owner will say it's a good song. You understand? Ladies and gentlemen, I do not know of any person who has ever accepted or discredited himself. Even if you know you're bad at something, you're walking your own talk. Even if you know your kid is daft, you say, mugezi. They will give it to you after 1 week. So the information on social media largely by influencers and the so-called celebrities is the information they need us to know, not what we want.
Okay.
I am going to, for example, look at whiskeys, look at vodkas and everything. What whiskey has the highest alcohol content?
Are we supposed to answer the question?
No, it's just, I mean, you will look at it.
Okay, hold
but
on.
you go to this local boo of ours, Kasese. You cannot finish a Renzori bottle full of Kasese.
No, you cannot. You cannot.
It's hard.
Very difficult.
Let me get you another. Have you people seen or watched this video of this other guy, Kaibanda, promoting Mukama na Ayamba? Yeah. You've seen? And she says, Mukama na Ayamba, they had chased me. You chased me out of the house. I go to Mukama na Ayamba and another woman, I mean. My dear. You go drink it. You may even fail to do what you're supposed to do. Only in the name of saying, of taking what?
Mukama na Ayamba.
Brings us to persuasive advertising. I mean, I'm going to give you an example of a yellow passion fruit. Outside, it's so glittering, very nice. Cut it halfway, you find 2 seeds.
So what we are getting at is the information coming at us in this day and age, one, is not really information that is put forth for us to consume in a way that benefits us. It's put forth by people who have an agenda and are trying, more often than not, to push that agenda to us. So it's not information we need, it's information they want us to know, right? So we're not getting the right information, which actually brings me to my next question. Should all knowledge be freely accessible, or are there cases where that access should be restricted?
I'm sorry, I wanted to sort of respond to him before that, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I also want to say that it has its good bits, you know. It has its good bits. The information age we are in. It has its good bits. But I also appreciate that we are saying it's upon us to gatekeep on what comes through. Because she gave an example, I am one of those people. But they work. You see, I'm always looking for cleaning hacks. I have got, now lately, let me tell you, lately, I've also started, lately I've been using oregano oil, you know? Because some of these things, like I will not pick everything, okay? Some of these things will prove, or you find that they have been here and existed even before the information age. Some of that information is not bad, you know? When they tell you that, no, it's good to detox, the only problem also, then like you said, self-medication, you don't know how many cups you're drinking. Before you know it, we are having another problem. So I do think it also comes with its good bits, okay? There are things that are like age-old, like very old things that are coming to light because someone knows. If there's a time I struggled to get like things like wine stains of things or chairs or what, and then you discover, hey, it's been easy like this all this time. So also some of them will work, some of them won't. That's why it comes in for you to decide on how you want to use that information. But like some of this information, however, no. There's need for, I don't know though if it's a possibility on restriction of information in this day and age. It would be nice, but it's also against the human right. So it's a bit of the, you know, sweet and sour sort of thing. Yeah. The thing is, when we're controlling it, we forget and control the whole thing, and you go, we don't know that even the good part is there. So how do we come in to make sure that this will, it's like a sieve, eh? Sometimes the sieve is good, indeed. Some people will take the majani without the chai with the majani in it. Others will say, let us sieve. Some people will take their juice, they crush everything in there, they take. Others will say, let us sieve. But sometimes even the sieve helps because those other ones will pass. They'll always be like, what, boo, boo, those, you know, those boo. Eh?
Yeah.
But it helps. The problem is, how do we do it? Remember when we had the Facebook ban?
Yeah.
It was about one thing, but the whole thing was down. You know, I think if, like now we are in the age of the AIs and what, we are talking about these things now. Tomorrow, almost all of us, when we go on our social medias, are going to receive similar topics. So someone is hearing. So that same technology can probably be used to like put out specific things, not put down the whole thing.
Okay.
But like if there was a way, and we're saying we're the smart generation,
Are
let
we
us
though?
find a way. No, not really. We need to find a way of, okay, yeah, let us sieve. But because also as a human being, you have a right to information.
Yeah.
Yes. But it's also good, like she mentioned last week, they took them through, growing up. Even us, Bambi, we are lazy. This generation, Banange, okay, not as lazy as the Gen Xers. Those guys, as long as you come back home. But, as long as you come back home, for real, I never knew a time I was inside the house. They even chased you out of the house. These guys were like, yo, I need to leave. But where we are now, I think we need to, we are not bothered. Every child has a phone or what are they called, tablet or something. But as we do that, we are not helping them know that, hey, this is what you need, these are the tips, But we are very quick, back then in the magazine, they gave tips on different things. But we're not giving tips to these young people on how to access, use, or even pick information that's necessary for them. That is why a 10-year-old will go and record a thief from Bambute. They don't know that you need to blur the images. They don't know that maybe certain kind of words are going to be sensitive, blah, 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 all those things. And they will still take it in like that. You have not seen grown people. You guys, we are on WhatsApp groups. You have not seen grown people sharing some weird stuff, man. You're like, you guy. Did you put a disclaimer? Did you warn us for what we are going to see? Did you? And the guy doesn't see a problem with it. For him, it's just sharing from one group to the next. Grown-ups who can actually you don't have to tell a grown-up that this works, this doesn't work, or maybe approach this. Now imagine that grown-up cannot tell their child that now this information should be
utilized in a
So
in a
even us
certain way.
ourselves, I think we need an education.
There's a difference between being a grown-up, being mature, and excitement.
Akubye.
Because, of course, I'm going to give you a very simple example. Sugarcane. What part of a sugarcane is sweeter? The lower part. Thank you, the lower part. So, what's the useful of the upper part? Part of the sugarcane. But you do want to eat it, not so? To make the lower part sweet. So, that is it. And from what you're saying, your submission, I mean, old people posting things in a group, I think weird and awkward things in a group. Yeah, they could be old.
But
They're excited about what they are doing.
what they are posting.
That brings us to another thing. Failing and refusing to understand are two different things. Because if you really have failed to understand, it's understandable you have failed to understand. But there is understanding and you refuse to accept that this is wrong.
And then he's talking about information overload.
And I mean, we need to be relevant, like he said.
Yeah.
By sharing, you think you go aliko.
Yeah.
And some other people who are quiet in the group are like, hey, this old man.
But why?
But why? Someone will say, Katonda tuyambe.
So again, should all knowledge be freely accessed, or should some of it be restricted?
Definitely there has to be like some restrictions. Obviously we see that with like development of children. We shouldn't be having them, viewing certain things because it alters your mind. That's an example that I know there's been some research on, inappropriate sites, even in adulthood, and how much it changes your brain. So that shows what information we're getting obviously impacts us in some way. And your brain is changing. I can't remember from my book, but it's like every 30 seconds or something like that. It's like what you think about then gets ingrained in your brain like 5 minutes later, that
Okay.
kind of thing. And so what we're seeing obviously impacts what we think about, therefore changes our brain, therefore changes even what we pass on to our children.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like genetics wise. So obviously there needs to be some restrictions, but I don't think it's the same for everyone. Like
Okay.
it really varies by obviously your age, but also your maturity, also like what do you want to be seen? Because let's say I struggle with some type of addiction, let's say alcohol addiction or something. Now, if I'm seeing all these nice cocktails pull up online or all these different nice whiskeys, obviously my brain is going to go back to that and I'm going to be easier to fall into that addiction again, you know?
Yeah.
So I think it really depends on the person. And then, like I said, the maturity, all of those things that come together.
You know, I didn't think we were going to get to that point of how we are as human beings inherently, and how that affects how we perceive, how we think about, and how we utilize the knowledge that we have. Because, like Chris said, things is this. It's broad. It's broad. There's a lot of variables to consider when one accessing information, but even after that, again, a lot of variables to consider when utilizing that information. Are you giving that information to the right audience? Like Rowena said, why are you just dropping things in a WhatsApp group? Is it relevant to that audience? But how have you perceived that information, and how are you using that information to either better the people around you or sometimes pull them down? So I like that the aspect of variables in how we consume and utilize knowledge has come up, because I didn't think, I was hoping the conversation would be pushed in that direction. And I'm glad it has. But for everyone, again, in the interest of time, we don't want to keep you all here long. So there's a lot to cover with this topic. I had a lot of questions prepared, but now I'm going with the more relevant ones that kind of give us a broader understanding of this concept. But my final question to you all, and I might have some follow-up questions depending on the submissions that you give. But finally, is ignorance ever preferable to knowledge? Is ignorance ever preferable to knowledge in this time, in this day and age where we are getting that information in an overload, in almost an instant? Has there ever come a point where you believe that ignorance is preferable to knowledge or otherwise?
No, I think I prefer knowledge than ignorance. I rather know, and then I can ignore all, like, get the freedom to make my own choice at the end of the day. Because I think I'm one of the people that are very curious about things. That's how I've been. It's not that I'm going to do it or do it, but I always want to know literally about everything. Because I feel like knowing is going to guide how I treat, what takes my attention, how to react in different situations. So I think I will always choose knowledge over ignorance.
Okay. Anyone with a differing opinion or just an addition?
Again, I think it depends on what it is, because like an example that I've been discovering lately through, like, let's say the war with Israel and everything, is that I don't know the history of what the U.S. did, right? Because my knowledge of what the U.S. has done throughout the years has always been back to what I learned in school. So, of course, that's more directed knowledge. Like, yes, a lot of those events have happened, but they miss all the little things that happened in between. So then I think, do I want to know all those things about what we did? You know, or like what happened and, you know, the wars and all the different torture things and slavery, you know, like those kind of things I don't know if I want to fill my mind with. And so that's where I kind of like, okay, maybe I want the ignorance of it, but also I want the knowledge to be able to say, okay, I know these, that we're not perfect, right, as a country or whatever, because we need to know that history as well. So I kind of fall in between, because it's like I don't want to know technically, but at the same time, like it's, I should know, right? Like it's important to know.
How do you toe that line, especially because Olivia's was more direct. She's very much on the side of knowledge. She'd much rather have the information and choose how to use that information. And you're on the fence, right? Because there are points where you want to have that information, but also there are aspects of that information or your consumption of information that is determined by, let's say, cultural backgrounds or sometimes even emotional aspects of our lives. And we're all human beings. All of those factor into how we make decisions, even when it comes to the knowledge we consume. So how do we toe that line? How do I know, okay, where am I being biased in my intake of information and where am I being as open-minded as possible?
Yeah, so that goes back to gatekeeping. Me, I feel like the ignorance bit has to be according to the certain type of person. It brings me to the age. Our children are getting a lot of information that they shouldn't. They're getting a lot of our children.
Tell them.
Yeah, they're getting a lot of information that should be kept away from them till they reach a certain age. Yeah, but that's why I would be like, it would rather prefer that children stay ignorant. Because why are children knowing about sex stuff when they're still?
Just this morning, I was going to church with my wife, and she was dressed in black, like all black. And my daughter was like, "Oh, mommy, you look so good in black. Like, yeah, you look so beautiful in black." And then there is this movie on Netflix, Beauty in Black. If you know Beauty in Black, and then there is a daughter, 4-year-old, she'd be like, "Oh, mommy, you look so beautiful in black." If you know Beauty in Black, I'd be like, yeah. There is some kind of, I just saying that you cannot like kind of let your kids and yeah. Okay, my point was Beauty in Black.
So, what I'm getting from this,
Makes sense.
what I'm getting from this is, and I like how it has been broken down, that there is a lot of aspects that come in, and a lot of, again, variables to factor in when we are choosing whether to consume knowledge or not. Our cultural background, our age, even sometimes how we utilize and perceive that information, I think is a big thing that helps us decide whether we want to take in that information or not, right? You are disagreeing, please proceed. Is ignorance ever a choice over knowledge?
No. She. I think in her submission, she kind of mentioned the. I'm not like disagreeing. That's her opinion, but I would say maybe I have a different opinion when it comes to children and exposure. From my own understanding and experiences, based on what I have seen, I am the person today that can say exposure is better than hiding. For most of the time, it is more important. I would give an example of children, let's say girls that used to go to girls' school when we were in high school. When you go to girls' schools, because there is this restriction, and these girls are very curious, like, what happens? So you find that when they see boys, they easily mess up. Or any chance they get to get outside, they're going to mess up. Let's say our parents don't want to talk about sex and the fact that it is good. We grew up being told it is bad habits. Bad manners. But today, we live in a world today where if my child asks me about sex, I'm going to be like, yeah, let's talk about sex. It is this, but it is, and it's a good thing, it's a good feeling, but it is right at this particular time. Because you know why? It's done at this particular time, A, B, C, D happens. And what do you want for yourself? So they learn to reason and think things through before they act. But this is what happens. We're like, oh, this is not right. Oh, this is hidden information. Oh, we can't say this. But there's even the F word per se. These kids know how to say all those things. We are like, oh my gosh, kids. Like, yes, I'm not saying we should say those things in front of them and stuff.
Do not.
But, but I think we need to be very selective on information that we are calling a secret. So, yeah, I don't know. I just feel like exposure, knowledge is better.
Okay.
So I just wanted to give an example. I went to a very, very strict Christian college, like no movies, no music, nothing we couldn't listen to. Now, those kids that grew up homeschooled with those restrictions came out to want to explore once they reached adulthood, right? So they turned out to be the worst kids in the sense of they fell into drug addictions, they fell into alcohol, all those things that their parents tried so hard to prevent for so many years, but then they still had that curious factor. So, like, there's this movie that I was watching where they can get this house, but they can't open the cellar door. If they open the cellar door, the house is no longer theirs, But the whole time in their heads, they're just like, I want to open that cellar door. I want to do it. And so if we don't teach them young enough or open them up to those things, they're going to want to explore and may even not have the knowledge of how to deal with it, like she's saying, and then fall into addictions, worse things, all of that.
Yeah. I think, again, in the interest of time, I may cut you guys off a little bit early, but what I've gotten from this is we as human beings have always been a curious species, right? And we've always had that thirst for knowledge and that thirst for information. Otherwise, we would have never discovered things like fire, or no one would have ever known how high Mount Everest is, or no one would have ever figured out the fact that we can make stuff that can travel in the sky. We would have never known women, apparently. I didn't know that also counted into how we consume our knowledge, right? And how important they are in our lives. People, again, let me rephrase that. We would not have known women and how important they are in our lives. Someone will leave a comment. But in this day and age, I think the way we consume information now has been dictated by our curiosity. I think the people giving us this information know that inherently we are curious. We're always searching for something new, maybe something new to believe in, something new to trust in, and they're taking advantage of that and overwhelming us with this information, which sometimes pushes us to make the wrong decisions in terms of what we consume and how we utilize that information. But what I've gotten from you all is it is pointless for us to actually shy away from actually getting this information. It's just up to us to establish how best we can utilize that information, right? So inherently, it comes down to us as individuals. No one is going to teach you how to utilize the information that you get. It's now going to be up to you. I love people who say, be an independent thinker, right? No one is going to think for you on how to utilize the information that you get. I think it comes down to who we are inherently as a person or as a people, and what we want to achieve with our lives, and how that information that we get can push us towards those goals. So thank you guys so much for being with us here today.
I'm sorry, can I say something?
Yes, in a minute.
I wanted to respond before you close, so really. I agree with what Olivia and Jocelyn have said. However, you do realize that sometimes too much information leads to ignorance as well. The information is too much that people become dumb. People they no longer think for themselves. People can no longer see things. So basically, we become ignorant in a sense that we don't even know that this is right and this is wrong. We are just taking.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, we end up doing things that actually don't make sense. And half the time, I feel like that's where we are.
So how do we navigate that?
That's what we've been talking about the whole night. We need to we need to strike a balance. We need to know that at this point, we need to shape up. At this point, it's okay as a human. And the problem we have today is a lot of the current generation. I know even the ones before us used to say our generation, yeah. But because things change over time, see?
Yeah.
The current generation they're not questioning anything. I question everything. I have questioned where I come from. I've questioned the language I speak. I have questioned how we are here as a country. I have questioned the religion. I have questioned how the people who formed the fire, who died first. You question everything. Someone must have, Question everyone. Question the history. Question, because this history is selected. Yes. Did he discover or he came and found? So you need to, thank you. All of these things, we are beginning to have, though, a generation that no longer asks questions. Yes? It does not ask questions. There's no sense of, how did we get here?
Yeah.
We are just going for, you know?
Yeah.
So, yes. So I think that's my issue is, what I was trying to say is also the much information leads to ignorance. There are people who argue. They're arguing about the current situation in the US, but every freaking thing they're saying is nonsense.
Loud and
you know,
wrong.
So, but because they're getting all of this information, what we are calling information,
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
and it becomes quite difficult then to tame.
Yeah.
But everything that I think we've talked about sums it up. That
Yeah.
we need to find a way of gatekeeping. We need to find a way of striking a balance. So also, if the kids are exposed, which they have a right to, how then do we engage them on the best way? You know, exposure is good,
Yeah.
but also to make sure that as you get exposure, you don't become ignorant in the process,
All right.
or even become unwilling to unlearn and learn.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. But one piece of information we can.
The first I of information, spreading of information, I, and then something like that. For me, I think the first I on information should be intelligence, not just for.
Should I even end it? I think I can just end it there, because now what am I going to say after that is going to make sense? Eh? How do I beat the first I of information is intelligence? How? Tell me. Okay. So I like this. Ladies and gentlemen, question everything, strike a balance. Do not lose your curiosity, but in the process of gaining knowledge, be careful how you do it. Be careful how you utilize it, and be careful on the impact of that knowledge on the people around you. Ladies and gentlemen, the one thing that we cannot dispute, though, and this is a fact, I'm giving you knowledge right now. The one thing you cannot dispute is Manchester United is pound for pound the worst team in the Premier League. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us here today. Yeah, no. I'm dying on the team, but acceptance is key. Like you said, striking a balance. Yeah. Uh-huh. People like you. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for being with us today. Thank you for taking off some time to share your thoughts with us. Like I said, this is a wide topic, but I felt it was something that needed discussion because we're in an age of information overload, and I think understanding how to use the information that we get is a really important aspect, and it's a skill in life. As usual, we are Plot 8B, Gabula Road, the Barrow House. The TalkTrack is an independent production of the Kara Junkies, edited, produced, and sound mixed by Maurice. I've been your host for today, Roy, the Alchemist, aka my very many other names. Check us out on our social media, especially YouTube at TalkTrack Uganda. Please like, comment, and that feedback helps us grow. And we look forward to seeing you here again next Sunday for some more engaging conversation. But until then, I wish you all a very pleasant week. We're in the month of love, so please do not forget your lovers. And we'll be here to discuss something else, something important next week. That being said, I wish you all the best. And until Manchester United makes a good decision. Peace out.